The best skincare products for kids. Well, hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to be answering a common question I get, and that is, what is a good skincare routine for a child, for a kid? Online, you'll find a ton of information, and now with social media, parents seek a lot of healthcare information from the internet. Unfortunately, there is a ton of misinformation out there and a lot of strong influences to push you to buy things that may not be helpful, and in many cases could potentially just end up causing more irritation for your child's skin. A child does not need a complicated skincare routine. Honestly, no one needs a complicated skincare routine, but children in particular, they really have no need for the use of active ingredients unless, of course, they have an underlying skin condition, in which case see a dermatologist to make sure your child is using not only the right skincare products, but also is being treated appropriately. Skincare has become very popular amongst young children, and parents are actually making appointments with dermatologists, not because their child has a skin problem, but rather, please recommend a skincare routine for my child. And dermatologists are kind of going, what for? When it comes to caring for a child's skin, stick to the basics. I tell this to adults, but with kids, definitely is the same thing. What are the basics? A basic cleanser, a moisturizer, and a sunscreen. And truthfully, some kids may not even really need to use a moisturizer because kids, they typically don't really deal with dry skin unless they have been overbathing or, again, they have some underlying skin condition. But from time to time, with changes in the weather, they may need to use one. All right, so let's talk about cleansing first and foremost. How often does a child need to cleanse their skin, their face, their body? The answer is, it depends. Some children are going to bathe every single day, whereas other children actually only need to bathe 1 to 2 times a week. Recently, there was a TikTok that went viral of a mother saying that she only bathed her kids once a week, and people in the comments section were so offended by this. But honestly, this is a recommendation that we give to a lot of parents, depending, again, on their child and where they live and the type of lifestyle that they live. From the ages of 6 to 11, before puberty has started, your child is not making sebum, oil. Their oil glands are not active yet. So the need for cleansing is diminished. When should you bathe your child then? Well, again, if they like bathing daily, they tolerate it, or there's a need for it, by all means. But bathing should happen 1 to 2 times a week for kids in this age group at least. And also anytime they have gotten, well, dirty. Kids play outside, or I recommend they play outside. They may play in the mud, the dirt, and they need to bathe to remove that. Also, if your child is very active in sports, sweats a lot, they'll need to bathe after that. I recommend bathing a child anytime they get in a body of water, whether that be a pool, a lake, the ocean. I mean, I live in Houston. It's super humid, it's very hot. Most children, especially during the summertime, are actually bathing daily. Whereas when I lived in Colorado, it was very, very dry, and a lot of children, their skin would become super dry if they took baths every day. Because kids don't have oil production, sebum, you should choose a really mild cleanser that actually it should be suitable to use not only on their body but also their face. This may not be necessary to even use to the entire body. You don't really need very much depending on your child's size. You may only need to use the body wash in areas that are visibly soiled and in the skin folds, and maybe to the face if their face is dirty. Let's not forget about teaching our children one of the most important basic hygiene principles that is going to help cut down on them getting sick. And this is basic hand hygiene, hand washing. This is something that as a parent, you might want to reassess how good your child is at actually washing their hands. Recommend a child, anyone actually, wash their hands before they eat, after they use the bathroom, after they touch a pet or an animal, after they blow their nose, cough, or sneeze. But what I find is that parents are pretty good about teaching their children, you need to wash your hands when you do X, Y, and Z. but they kind of step to the side and forget to reassess how good their child is at actually washing their hands. And honestly, I observe a lot of adults not really washing their hands that well either in public bathrooms. We're in a hurry, but good hand washing can cut down on the risk of transmission of infectious things that make us sick. Whether that be foodborne illnesses from handling food or colds and flus, you name it, hand hygiene really helps. You don't need an antibacterial hand soap. That is not going to get rid of bacteria actually any better than a non-antibacterial hand soap. All that does is increase selective pressures for bacterial resistance, antimicrobial resistance. So honestly, the same body wash, shampoo, face wash that you might have your child bathe with, shampoo with, wash their face with, could also be used as a hand soap. And the most important thing when it comes to hand washing is that you get all surfaces of the hands. This is where both children and adults slack. You want to make sure to emphasize to your child and remind them not only to wash the palms of their hands, but also the sides of their fingers, in between the fingers, the backs of the hands, the wrists, and around the nails. And it should take roughly 20 seconds, the amount of time it takes to sing the alphabet. You may need to continue to remind children of this from time to time because kids, they tend to, well, you know. Now, of course, hand washing done excessively is not a good thing and can dry out and irritate the hands, especially in the cold winter months when the air is dry. So encourage your child to, after they wash their hands, rinse the cleanser thoroughly, make sure they don't leave any soap residue behind on the hand surface, including between the fingers. That is a location where cleansing residue can easily become trapped, or up under any little rings they may be wearing. Make sure they rinse it off in total and then gently pat dry the hands and apply a moisturizer if needed. Moisturizer will help reduce the dryness and irritation aspect. All right, now that we've covered cleansing, let's talk about how often should you be shampooing your child's scalp. The answer is it depends. It depends on your child, how active they are, and their hair type. It also depends on their age. Once children get to be around 12 years of age, or if they go through puberty earlier, they're likely going to need to shampoo their scalp more frequently because guess what? Your scalp has a very high density of those oil glands, and that's what leads to oily, greasy hair, and that also can contribute to dandruff and scalp irritation. Children who are very active get very sweaty, the scalp sweats a lot. They also may need to shampoo their scalp more frequently. Children who have dry and or curly hair are not going to need to nor tolerate shampooing the scalp frequently. So how often? Well, if your child is 12 years of age and older, has straight hair and a more oily scalp, they're going to benefit from shampooing the scalp every other day or daily. Also, if they are very active, you may find that they need to shampoo their scalp that frequently as well. But if your child has dry or curly hair, you probably already know that's not necessary. It is actually going to make their hair very unmanageable and make your life even more difficult trying to style their hair. Okay, now when your child is 8 to 11 years of age, that's, you know, a child not yet puberty, do they need to shampoo on a daily basis? If they're not like active in sports, sweating a lot, no, they don't. 1 to 2 times a week is more than fine. Same frequency with which they bathe. I mean, if you live somewhere that's dry, your child is not out sweating a lot, you know, they're otherwise clean, you're probably more in the camp of bathing your child 1 to 2 times a week, so you can reserve shampooing to their actual bathing times. You don't need to take time out of your week to shampoo their scalp an additional time. If your child has dry or curly hair, you may want to wait every 7 to 10 days to wash their hair. And so when they do bathe, if there's someone who bathes more often throughout the week, or on, you know, an every other day basis, you then may want to use a shower cap to keep their hair from drying out. The most important thing is to remember every child is different. In this day and age, parents have so much outside noise, outside pressure, do this, don't do this. Parents can be very competitive with one another, but honestly, you know your child, you know what their skin needs. Don't listen to outside voices telling you, oh, you're bathing too much. Oh my God, you're nasty for not bathing your child every single day. There's no one and done. This is how you must do it. So keep that in mind. If you're staying on top of your child in terms of hand hygiene and washing their hands well, you're doing much better than most people, I have to be honest with you. So let's move on to another category that I am a huge fan of in my own life, my own routine. I recommend it to most adults, but honestly, kids may or may not even need this. And that is moisturizing. Moisturizing helps to replenish, well, moisture in the skin by the inclusion of humectants, which are ingredients like glycerin, hyaluronic acid that help retain water in skin's outermost layer. Moisturizers also have occlusive ingredients that help to reduce water loss from the skin, and they also have emollients to soften and smooth the skin surface. So after bathing is the best time to apply moisturizer. After your child gets out of the tub, the shower, pat dry the skin a bit, and then apply a moisturizer immediately. If their face is dry, apply a moisturizer. The same moisturizer your child uses on their body should be more than fine to use on their face, especially before puberty. I've said this before, but some body moisturizers, they're formulated to be, thicker. They can feel heavy, greasy on the face. And when our skin is making a lot of oil, when we're acne prone, sometimes that's not so comfortable for us. But for a child, it's usually more than fine. Honestly, parents, you do not need a complicated routine for kids at all. Basic, affordable products should be more than fine. Now, the next and most important skincare habit you can teach your child to do, aside from the good hand hygiene, is sunscreen, sun protection. I get a lot of requests. What's a good sunscreen for a kid? My reply to that is ask them. Ask them what a sunscreen they like. And it may be a trial and error. Give them some sunscreens to try out and see what they like. Emphasize the need to apply sunscreen before going outdoors, when they're gonna go outside and play. Also, encourage them to reapply the sunscreen if they have been outside playing for longer than 2 hours. This is really important, a really important preventative health behavior to reduce the risk of skin cancer. Early childhood sun exposure does play a big role in our risk later on in life for skin cancers for children, especially who have paler skin types, who are prone to sunburns. So this is a really important preventative health behavior to teach young children. Don't keep your kid indoors out of fear of the sun and sun damage. I do not recommend that. The other thing you want to teach your child about is that they should rein in things like hats and sleeves to further protect their skin. Have your child get in the habit of wearing a sun hat, sunglasses. There's a lot of fear-mongering around sunscreens online, and this idea that some sunscreens are safe for kids and others are not. Ignore that. The best sunscreen is the one that your child likes enough to use to wear regularly, and that's going to vary depending on your child. Some kids have sensory issues and certain things like sticky textures, although honestly I don't know anyone who likes a sticky texture. Certain textures and things are going to be uncomfortable for them. So get in the habit of encouraging your child to apply sunscreen before going out, to reapply when they've been outdoors for a prolonged period of time, and give them sunscreens to choose from. Have multiple in a basket by the door to encourage this behavior. Importantly, you should be applying sunscreen in front of them. Children mimic what they see adults doing. If your child prefers to use a stick, make sure you teach them how to use a sunscreen stick, that they need to rub the stick on the skin doing multiple passes so there are no skip areas, and then they physically need to rub it in. Also, if your child likes to use a sunscreen spray, make sure you teach them how to use it. I'm going to link in the description box my video on sunscreen sprays where I give tips on how to use them. They are not perfect. A lot of people end up with a sunburn because they used those and didn't necessarily put them on in the best way, and they had some skip areas, they got a sunburn. So when it comes to applying sunscreen sprays, you do still physically need to rub them in. You do multiple passes, and you want to make sure you're not using them somewhere that's really windy, because otherwise the spray ends up going on the floor, on the mosquito next to you, and not actually on the skin. So those are important things to teach kids. Speaking of sunscreen sticks, get your child some SPF lip balm so they can protect their lips. All right, y'all, so that's basically it. In the description box, I'm going to have a link to some skincare products that I recommend for children, but honestly, don't overthink it. And don't worry too much that your child needs certain skincare products. Again, if your child has an underlying skin condition, a skin problem, has developed a rash, anything of concern on their skin, their scalp, their hair, their nails, see a board-certified dermatologist to find out what's going on. If you don't have access to a board-certified dermatologist, see your child's pediatrician. They have a good grasp on basic skin problems in young children and likely are more than adequate of a resource for diagnosis and management of most basic skin problems that affect young children. And if necessary, they can refer you to a dermatologist where the appropriate management and treatment options can be executed based on what it is exactly your child has. So don't be influenced by social media. Your child does not need specific skincare. They don't need a complicated skincare routine. Is it harmful for your child to experiment around with different skincare products? Some skincare products that adults use, like anti-aging serums that contain alpha hydroxy acids, retinol, salicylic acid, vitamin C serums, they may be tolerated just fine, but in many cases, they're going to be too irritating for your child and they are unnecessary. All right, you guys, that is everything I wanted to say in this video with regards to the best skincare for kids. The best skincare for children is simple, straightforward, it's not complicated, and it includes emphasis on skincare behaviors and habits that can be preventative, namely washing one's hands properly and sun protection executed properly and consistently. I hope this video was informative to you. If so, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.